Well, everybody, decided to take a break and let my knees relax here. Been sitting in a skid loader for the last 3 hours piling up manure. I mean, making mountains of money. Yes, mountains of money. And I decided to make a quick video. You can see I'm getting it all piled up over here. That way, there's still ice and stuff underneath, most of it, so I'm trying to get that off. So that will melt here soon, and hopefully this soupier stuff starts to dry up a little bit. So by the time we actually start covering the fields with manure after we get the rye off, it won't be as wet in here. So the skid steer won't do as much damage when I'm loading my manure. Mountains of money. What you say? Yes, that is mountains of money. You know, on average per ton of manure is 10 pounds of K, 7 pounds of P, and 3 to 4 pounds of N. Now, manure analysis will give you exact numbers on what your manure is. You know, the higher bedding you have in there, that's going to throw off the numbers a little bit. If you have just a scrape alley where it's just pure manure, that's going to be a different analysis. But on average, pen pack manure or solid manure is on average 10 pounds per ton of K, 7 pounds per ton of P, and 4 pounds per ton of N. So, with that being said, you can kind of do a manure production estimate, and they say on average a 1,000-pound cow produces 63 pounds of waste per day. So if you have a 1,400-pound cow, you can take 1.4 times 63, and that will give you an estimate on how much waste she produces every day. Now, some people say waste. I call it fertilizer, because that's not waste. That's all fertilizer for the next crop. So, you can break down the numbers with what I just gave you and get an idea of what a ton of manure is worth. Now, you got to kind of factor in your fertilizer, your bedding, because, you know, on average the cows will eat some of it, but how much of it do they eat? I figure my cows eat between 25 and 50% of their bedding. So when you're factoring in more manure, you need to kind of factor in, what did you make for bedding? How much did you put out there? What do you figure those bales weigh? And then kind of do an estimate on, you know, what is still in there that's going back on the field. And you can kind of play around with the numbers. Use crop removal estimates to figure out, okay, well, we got X amount of bushels per acre. We got X amount of bales of corn stalks per acre. Crop removal rate is approximately this much. So you can kind of figure out exactly how much nutrients are in each round bale of bedding that you used. Okay, you can factor all that in for how much fertilizer value is in your manure. And you can use it to figure out how much that manure is worth, how much that is worth on your fields, how much less fertilizer you have to buy. You know, it's mountains of money right there. Doesn't probably sound like a lot. And to most people, it looks like a big mess. But best plant food you're ever going to get is right there. You know, not only do you have NP and K, you've got micronutrients in there. You've got a little bit of organic matter in there. So, yeah, I would strongly consider figuring out what your manure is worth before you go and give it away. Or just leave it sit in a pile forever. I know a lot of people that hobby farm that they never clean their barnyards. It's just years upon years upon years of buildup in there that's just sitting there. Put it out on your fields. Quit buying fertilizer if you don't have to. Like I say, on average, 10 pounds of K per ton. 4 pounds on average of N per ton. You know, and typically the 4 pounds is incorporated, so they always figure 3 pounds per ton just put on top of the ground. So, you know, after first cutting hay, you go and put a light, you know, 3, 4, 5 ton of the acre of manure on your ground, or even 10 ton. You know, a good manure spreader can put 10 ton on pretty nicely, nice even spread where it's not going to affect the grass growth underneath it. You know, 10 ton of manure per acre at 3 pounds per ton, that's 30 pounds of N per acre. That's enough to get your next cutting of hay done. You don't have to buy fertilizer. So, and, you know, on average, if you look up any calculator that figures out crop production, it takes approximately 60 pounds of K per ton of hay. So, if you go and put out 10 ton of manure per acre, 10 times 10 is 100. That's 100 pounds of K per acre you just put out. So right there, you're, you know, just under 1.5 tons worth of hay, worth of fertilizer you just put on that. So manure is a huge asset. It's worth money. Don't get rid of it. Use some calculators, get some more information. I have books that I can show the different numbers and figures on everything. A person, if they're really interested to see that, I can go over it and you can see the numbers yourself and use that to figure out what that stuff is worth on your ground. You know, there's a lot of money sitting there between the fertilizer value of it, the value of what it costs you to put that feed up, what it's going to cost you to haul it back out. You need to factor all that in your decision making. So I don't know what other states have, but in this state they have a program called SNAP Plus, and like I am NR 590 certified. I have a nutrient management plan, and basically the nutrient management plan, you got to factor all this stuff in for all your fields, and you can't go over. You've got to factor in all your cropping practices, your manure that you're putting on and everything, the amount of fertilizer you put on everything. And when you're plugging all these numbers in, this computer system figures it all out, and it figures out your T-loss and everything on your fields. You can't be over a certain number. If you are, you got to change the way you farm, or you're going to get red flagged and you're going to have the government on you. So I don't know. I would talk to your local NRCS, FSA. I guess other states call it Land and Water or something. Here it's the Natural Resource Conservation Service Center, NRCS and FSA. You could call DATCAP. DATCAP has a big part in designing the SNAP Plus program. I highly recommend anybody that doesn't know about those programs, talk to your local agencies and try and figure out a program that is in your area to use, because it is an excellent tool to use for your decision making on your farm. So anyways, piles of money, take it as you will, but that's my 2 cents.